Hello and welcome to In the Realm of Whiskeys. This is our very first episode of our whiskey tasting, and my name is Jeff Yang. I'm the creator of the project In the Realm of Senses. In the Realm of Senses is a unique project that combines music with art, with perfumery, with gastronomy, literature, theater and dance, and all the modes of art in different ways to create something really unique and different than what you would expect. In the Realm of Whiskeys is an offshoot of that project in which we'll explore whiskeys as well as taste and different effects on taste based on colors, and we're going to explore different things about spirits, from blending to different regions of spirits, from Scotch to Irish whiskeys to bourbons, to ryes, to also to rums and maybe cognacs. All different kind of things, and also mixology, creating cocktails, and also, of course, exploring how colors affect our senses, smell, and taste. So I hope you'll join us on our weekly journey into the realm of whiskeys, and we'll be learning alongside with you on these spirits as we compare them. We'll be doing at least maybe 2 to 3 whiskeys at a time. We don't believe in actually just rating one whiskey, because I think one whiskey the taste can change based on if it's a new bottle, middle of the bottle, or on the bottom of the bottle. The taste can change quite different. Can taste quite different from day to day, and also your mood. If you're really angry or you're very tired, that can affect the way you taste, as well as if you had some spicy Indian food or Thai food before you had some whiskey, it can taste very different. So I like to compare the whiskeys to something else, and over time get to know each of them as they age, and see how they compare to each other, to other whiskeys I know better, and that way you can get a pretty good idea of what the whiskey tastes like, this description, and also I'll tell you a little bit about the value of it, and I will rate it at the end of the episode. So without much ado, I just like to introduce 2 local whiskeys here in Chicago. Of course, In the Realm of Senses is based here in Chicago, and we will actually be doing live whiskey tastings starting March 18th. Whiskey Thursdays at Jordan's Food of Distinction here in Chicago. So the March 18th and 25th, we'll be exploring Irish whiskeys, and every 2 weeks we'll be going to different kinds of spirits. We'll go to American bourbons, and also to explore different islands of Scotland. So it's different regions of Scotland. So we'll go through all the isles and all the regions in one tasting of 8 to 10 different spirits. So I hope you can come to that. You can find more about it on www.intherealmofsenses.com, and In the Realm of Senses on Facebook and also at Instagram. So let's talk about Koval. Koval is very interesting because it's the very first distillery in the city of Chicago since the Prohibition. Koval itself means blacksmith, or black sheep in Yiddish. And coincidentally, or not so much, Koval is kosher bourbon. So for those of you that are kosher, this is one of the spirits that one of the few bourbons that is kosher. The creators, the owners and distillers, Robert and Sonat Bernecker, are very, very intelligent and nice people, and they kind of started this distillery that started the path to other distilleries in the region in the Midwest. So this particular bottle is donated from Koval, so thank you very much for helping us in our mission to explore whiskeys and scents and taste, and how things affect them. So Koval is a very interesting whiskey because this is the mash bill of this is 49% millet. As you know, most bourbons have to be a minimum of 51% corn. So this is 51% corn and 49% millet. Millet is probably not something that you really hear a lot about as used in making beer and bird seeds and things like that. It's just not very commonly used in a whiskey. So this is very interesting. All of Koval's distillates are single barrel out of 30-gallon barrels. which seems like very large, but in the world of whiskey is quite small. And they're made from northern Minnesota oak that are locally in the north Midwest area here. So these are very small batches, and all their bottles are single barrels, so they can vary quite a bit. So from barrel to barrel, but they use all organic grains. So it's a very quality distillery, kind of a boutique distillery. And you can see the color is very dark brown, dark amber with a little hint of even a wine color in there. I would say similar to like a sherry Scotch color. This one's 47% alcohol, so it's 94 proof. And shall we taste it? Let's see. Just a little bit. As you notice, the cork is synthetic, not the usual cork that you would normally find in wine bottles and such. But I'm not really against that because they work equally well as real cork. But there's been more than a few times where I bought an old bottle of Scotch that's been sitting on the shelves for a better part of 10 years or even more. I get it home and you open it and it breaks into a bunch of million pieces. And you have to fish it out of the bottle, like decant it. And so the whole ordeal that I really don't enjoy doing, just because the cork has dried out over time. It hasn't been turned over. Hasn't been any moisture on it. And that happens a lot, particularly with Glenfarclas corks I've had experience with. So I do have a small collection of corks just in case that happens. But the other alternatives using a synthetic cork like Koval and many other newer distillers have been doing works just as well, I would say. So shall we dig in? Let's nose this whiskey. Very sweet. Dark caramel, dark fruit, like apricots. Quite delightful nose. Let's have a taste. Ooh, that is nice. The caramel carries through. There's like a deep red fruit cherry, a dark caramel wood. But there is something else in there that's slightly funky on the mid palate. You can get a little bit of spice, a little bit of anise, allspice, a little bit funkiness. I can't quite describe it. It's not a rye taste that I get. It's not that front spiciness, but it's a more mellow, but a little earthy. I think that's the taste, the millet we're getting from that 49% millet and the it's 51% corn. It complements the corn quite well, I have to say. Let's have another taste. Yes, definitely. You can tell a little bit more honeyed. As I keep drinking it, it gets more and more complex. There's more honeyed heather notes. Definitely, the dark fruits start to dissipate a little bit, but it's very beautiful bourbon quality with just not what you normally would expect out of an average Kentucky bourbon. It's rather unique, this flavor. It's not what I normally would expect, and it's about 3 to 4 years. It's just less than 4 years, but I suspect it's probably on closer to 3 to 4 rather than on the lower side of 2, which is the minimum age of a bourbon. But I think this is probably 3 or 4, or maybe even some older ones. But they're aged in very small 30-gallon barrels, which give you more of the wood influence usually. But I don't notice this as much because the millet and the corn work so well together, and it's so creamy. Has a really nice mouthfeel, a thick mouthfeel, and the finish is medium long. It's kind of on the side of my tongue. It's just kind of warm and not a lot of bite. So a delightful Koval bourbon single barrel. The second bourbon we're going to review is FEW Distillery. FEW Distillery is just, it's not actually in Chicago per se. It's the next suburb north of Chicago in the city of Evanston, which is the home of Northwestern University. Go Wildcats! That's my alma mater. I did my master's at Northwestern, and I'm glad to have a quality distillery pop up in my old alma mater's neighborhood. FEW Distillery is named FEW for Frances Elizabeth Willard, which you probably have not heard of before, but if you know history, she's one of the people that started the temperance movement that started in the city of Evanston that led to prohibition in the 20s and the early 30s. So the distiller Paul Hletko decided to name his distillery after the person that was responsible for the prohibition, which is kind of like a tongue-in-cheek. But if you go to the distillery, it's very cool. It's right in South Evanston, right off of Chicago Avenue and near Main Street. And it's this little side alley. You go in there, and this tiny little door you go in, and there's this small distilleries in there. Used to be an old car garage. So if you go there, you can get a taste whatever they're making. They're making bourbons, single malts as well, and gins, and also barrel-aged gins. So go and say hello. They're a quality distiller, and they're very cool to see. And you can make a little tiny bourbon trail in Chicago. Go see FEW and go see Koval in the Ravenswood area. Koval just moved to a new warehouse just down the street from where they were before, so I have not seen it yet, but it looks beautiful, and I look forward to seeing it once things open up a little more here in Chicago. So the FEW Distillery is 46.5% alcohol. The mash bill is a little different. It's 70% corn, 20% rye, which is a northern rye, and 10% barley. So it's more of a standard bourbon, maybe a little higher rye content than some, but it's quite excellent mash bill. And you can see the color is a little bit lighter, still a dark amber color. Then they also use 30-gallon Northern Minnesota oak. So there is some connection between these two whiskeys because Paul Hletko, the distiller for FEW, actually worked with Koval in the early days of Koval. Koval was started in 2008, FEW in 2011. So they use the same wood, same size, and actually use the same stills because of Koval. They use this type of Cote German stills that they actually set up for other distilleries like Journeyman, and also for FEW and several others in the Midwest, and also in Washington at the Woodinville Distillery, which is another craft distillery out west. So they have a kind of a similar background and similar backbone. So shall we try this? This is supposed to be a 2 to 3 year old whiskey. So let's try it, and well, voila. And also a synthetic cork. That seemed to be the thing in Chicago. So FEW Distillery with a Chicago World's Fair picture on there. So shall we nose it? It's a little lighter caramel. A little creme brulee on the nose. A little lighter on the vanilla. Definitely a little bit of the oak, but it's a little lighter caramel nose. Very, very delightful. Ooh. Well, the first taste definitely does not match the nose. It's definitely spicy. You notice the rye influence right away. It's much more straightforward. A little spiciness. The caramel that you get on the nose doesn't translate into your first taste. There's a little spice, it's a little light, even lemony, and a little bit herbal in certain ways. Let's try it again. Yeah. You can definitely notice the rye and also a little bit of the wood. For some reason, the small casks, the 30-gallon casks, didn't make this age quite quickly enough to me. even though you can tell it's a quality spirit and the wood is good, but it needs a little more time, I think, to take the edge off it. I get a little more spiciness on the tongue near the middle front edge, and it's quite lingering, so you get a little more of a bite from the alcohol and the rye. But the nose is quite sweeter, more caramel than the taste itself. But it is a very good, interesting bourbon that's made here in Chicago. Very nice, very nice. So, shall we rate this? So, to tell you a bit about my rating scale, I'm doing it a little different from most people. A lot of people rate this on a 100-point scale, and everybody gets 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I like to do it from 1 to 10. So a 5 rating would be something that's good, that's average, and it's a good bourbon. And as a value, a 5 would be exactly a fair price for what you're paying for. So I shall review Koval first. So my review is a 7. So the taste is quite good. The nose is caramel. It's very, very dark fruit, and it's a great taste. And I would say the taste matches the nose quite well, and the millet gives you an added dimension to the bourbon that you normally would not get. So that's I would give it a 7. And the value, a 5, because it's a fair valued bourbon. It can get it from $40 to $50. I think the suggested retail is around $50, but you're able to get that at local Binny's for $40. So it's a very fair value for a bourbon of this quality, of this taste, and you get a taste millet as part of whiskey, which is you won't not get a chance to very often. So with the FEW, I scored a 6. It's slightly better than average, but it's still, like I said, it's a taste a little bit young, and I would say it needs maybe a little more time in the barrel itself. And even though it's a quality cask and quality grain, and they use the hearts of the distillates. Both of these distillers do that, so they're quite excellent. The value I would say is a 4, because that FEW is also a $40 to $50 bourbon. You can get it for $40 at local Binny's, and a $50 as a suggested retail price. So at that price, I would say it's a little less than the value than I would look for in a bourbon that price. So that's my ratings on Koval and FEW bourbons. So I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back weekly with different special guests. We'll talk about different whiskeys, maybe journey through different things, and talk about distilling and rums and whatever other things that you're interested in. You can find us at intherealmofsenses.com for more information about our live events. Our next one is March 18th, and I'll be also on March 25th at Jordan's Food of Distinction. We'll be doing 2 one-hour sessions of 9 different Irish whiskeys, some unusual ones and some cool ones that we had, and explore with American bourbon that's triple distilled, so you can experience the Irish whiskeys in a little different way, and also paired with colors. So if you like what you're seeing today, please follow us at In the Realm of Whiskeys on YouTube, and find us on Instagram and Facebook, and hope to see you again soon. Cheers.